quite a lot of efforts to create the right environment to promote an international business setting. So here we can look at what are the opportunities and the challenges that this ecosystem presents, especially to Nordic companies. So Japan is one of Asia's wealthiest countries with a consumer base of 127 million people, a highly advanced society and a very well-educated population. And so Japan will most likely remain an economic powerhouse of Asia, which obviously presents massive opportunities for businesses. Regarding its trading relationship with the Nordics, Japan is Denmark's second export market in Asia, which shows an historical relationship between these two countries in terms of trading. And in terms of its innovation and technology space, the ecosystem is growing, especially driven by investors and corporates, because they have a growing appetite to work with international entrepreneurs, and they aim to bring the best of technology from around the world to tackle some of the challenges that Japan is facing at the moment, which are particularly decreasing birth rate and an aging population, which put a lot of pressure into the welfare system as well as the wider economy. At the same time, the Japanese language and its unique business culture can also prove to be barriers to the entry of overseas companies in the ecosystem. But I will mention later in this presentation how the programs that the Tokyo government is running could perhaps help break those barriers down. In terms of the specific opportunities that Japan has to offer to Nordic startups, there are 4 different variables that present as opportunities for the companies coming from the Nordics. So there is a similar demand for high quality products. Specifically, Danish products carry a very strong brand value in Japan, and there is a high demand for premium products. And many Japanese share the Danish liking for minimalism. So there's here an alignment between the demand and the offer between those two countries and what the sort of products they're producing. Recently, the EU-Japan trade agreement means that there has been a reduction of trade barriers between the two economic zones, presenting as an opportunity as well. Thirdly, the Japanese megatrends are quite aligned with the sort of technology and businesses from the Nordic ecosystem. So as I mentioned before, they have a rapidly aging population, and so there has been a lot of demand for welfare technology. So this provides opportunities for the strong Danish and wider Nordic ecosystem within the health tech, life science, and AI space, which could definitely help with the pressures created by that trend, by that demographic trend. And lastly, corporates, 70% of corporates have shown interest in engaging in open innovation strategies, particularly in the life science space. So there's a lot of space here for startups to come in and create strategic partnerships with big corporations in order to help them accelerate their businesses and create more organic growth. In terms of the growing startup ecosystem, so at the moment it is worth, in 2019 actually, it was worth $14 billion. And it's estimated to grow within the next few years. So there's 3 different sectors that I would like to highlight. So the IoT sector has, in 2018, it was predicted that Japan will be the 3rd largest spender on IoT after the US and China, which obviously presents a huge opportunity for IoT startups. And additionally, the Ministry of International Affairs and Communications estimates that 60% of IoT-related sales in Japan in 2020 will be made up by the manufacturing, energy, and distribution industries. In the AI market, the market is expected to undergo greater growth than other countries. So 115% growth rate in Japan against 55% in the USA, for example, which is massive. And by 2030, Japan's AI market is estimated to worth $869 billion, which obviously presents as well as a big opportunity. And lastly, in the robotics space, the Japanese government launched a new robotics strategy, which expects major growth in this space for the Japanese market. And there has been a release by the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry that highlighted the following sectors as the spaces where robotics is supposed to grow the most, which are the mobility, the social infrastructure, food processing, security, and education spaces. In terms of, as mentioned before, there's a lot of appetite to create industry partnerships and corporate collaboration in Japan, coming from the big corporations in the country. So Tokyo ranks as a top class in the world in the number of Fortune Global 500 company headquarters. And obviously such a large accumulation of companies serves as a magnet, attracting even more companies to the city and driving its economy. And especially since big corporations have been showing increasing interest and appetite in working with SMEs, Japanese companies are getting more open to startups and willing to collaborate. So for example, the amount of corporate we see in 2018 was 3 times bigger than 2016. And this trend is expected to grow even more over the next few years. And collaboration formats range from, strategic partnerships, joint ventures, M&As, and so on. So within our program, we've been seeing quite a few different formats of collaboration. So in this slide, you can see some examples of strategic partnerships created in the past. And the ones highlighted in yellow have affiliation with the Access2Tokyo programs run by Accenture, the Tokyo government. So they were either mentors or partners, or these were relationships that were accelerated by our program. So you can see Fujitsu, Toyota, Sony. And so to dive more into detail on what the Access2Tokyo program is and what it offers to companies, we provide free consulting services to companies who are looking to set up a subsidiary or a branch or even a joint venture in Tokyo. This is a free program that is completely tailored to the company's needs, and it aims at accelerating their decision-making and to expanding their business to Japan and Asia via Tokyo. This is a 2 to 3 month program, and we provide all sorts of support depending on your needs. So that can go from market analysis and understanding of what would be the best entry strategy for a company. And we also help with more operational support and logistical support, such as recruitment, office search, and so on. And I think the most important benefit coming from this program is our business partner identification, because Accenture and the Tokyo government both have very strong networks in Japan. And what we do is we connect companies to big corporations and organizations within their industry in order to promote collaboration. So what types of startups are we looking to work with? So we are looking to bring to Tokyo startups that are quite mature, so usually Series B and above, as well as scale-ups, with future international expansion plans, working within the Industry 4.0 and emerging technology space. So we're very keen to bring startups that are working within the robotics space, VR, AR, AI, IoT, and so on. And if you are working in a company that you believe could benefit from moving to Japan, or perhaps bring more value to the ecosystem in Tokyo, then please don't hesitate reaching out, because even if your sector is not mentioned in this slide, it might be the case that we can still help you. So since 2017, we've been able to attract more than 400 companies, and founders have benefited from meeting with leading Japanese companies such as Fujitsu, Nomura, Toyota, as well as gaining huge exposure to VCs and other investors. So these are just the key requirements to join the program. So by the end of 2020, really be expected to set up a headquarters or R&D functions of your company in Tokyo via subsidiary, a branch, or a joint venture, as mentioned before, and make some sort of investment, such as hiring at least one person or hiring an office, renting an office. And these are just a few of our partners and the people within our ecosystem that we could potentially connect you with if you're interested. So a lot in the banks and insurance industry, as well as telecommunications and electronics, and many other ecosystem organizations. And just to end the presentation, these are just some of our success stories. There's many more, but highlighted some that come from the Nordics. So you have on the top right, Chainalysis, which Kenji will share a bit more at the end of this call. And you also have, I'll highlight the French Shift Technology, which actually managed to capture the market by getting a deal with Mitsus. I won't pronounce it because it'll be terrible. So MS and AD, which is a huge insurance company, and they were capable of selling their services to them. They were the first ones to use their system in Japan, which was obviously a huge sell. And this was promoted by the Tokyo Metropolitan Government program. So as I mentioned before, if your company or any company that you know within your ecosystem is looking into exploring business opportunities in Japan, please do not hesitate reaching out via email or LinkedIn, and I'm happy to help you and to support your company's international growth. So yeah, thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you ever so much, Maria. To break my own rules about questions, as a moderator, I can do that. Is this like a constantly ongoing open option, or do you guys have kind of certain periods of the year, 3 months, where people can apply? What's the application rules?
So this is an ongoing program, so it's more sort of like the first option that you mentioned. Companies can apply throughout the year, and we will take them as an ongoing process.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, there's no deadlines, which is quite positive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But you mentioned something in your talk there about people. Is there sort of a cutoff for this year as such? You mentioned something about somebody setting something up before the end of 2020. Can you clarify?
Yeah. So that's it. Yeah, I'll go back to that slide. Yes. So that means that if the company is applying this year in FY21, then they would be expected to set up their subsidiary by March 2022. But also I should mention that this is a non-binding agreement. So obviously if by the end of the program, the company realizes that they wouldn't benefit from doing that, from making that investment, we would never make them do that. So it's non-binding.
They're not going to suddenly get a big bill from Accenture or something saying that.
Yes, exactly. So it's more like the company should show motivation to do so. Okay,
cool. Just a couple of questions. Let's just take them now quickly.
Sure.
So Frank was asking, how high is providing security to IoT products and cybersecurity valued within your focus area?
Sorry, can you repeat?
Yeah, I said it really fast. How high is providing security to IoT products and cybersecurity valued within your focus area? So providing security to IoT products and cybersecurity.
I think definitely that's a space that we want to explore. As I mentioned, the IoT business is growing quite a lot, and it's one of the focuses that the government would like to accelerate the industry. So obviously, if you're complementing that part of the ecosystem, for sure there is opportunities for you.
Yeah. So yeah, supplementing and supporting that industry. Yeah, so it seems a good fit to me. Wonky was asking, is there a copy of the Japanese government robotic or the Tokyo government robotic strategy? Is there something in English? Maybe that's something Niklas might be able to.
I'm not entirely sure,
Gotcha.
but that's definitely something I can check. Niklas, do you have an answer to this?
Not on my fingertips. No.
No, we can follow
a
up.
bit of search.
Yeah, I'm guessing we can definitely find out.
I'll make a note of that. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Thanks again, Maria. It's really interesting. If anybody obviously has any questions in the meantime, please put them in the chat, and we can come back to Maria a little bit later. So,
Perfect.
Niklas from Innovation House Tokyo, if you are ready to share your presentation, that would be fantastic.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Barry, and thank you, Maria, for your presentation. Let me just share my screen. There we go. So yes, and thank you so much for having me here today. So as introduced, my name is Niklas Karvonen. I'm the community director at Nordic Innovation House here in Tokyo. And in my presentation, I will tell you a little bit about what the Nordic Innovation House is about, what are our operations and supports here in Tokyo. And I will also briefly touch upon some of the investments from Japan to the Nordics and some of the recent Nordic market entries to Japan, as I thought it might be interesting to today's audience. But let me start with a brief explanation to the Nordic Innovation House. So we are a truly pan-Nordic project, which means that the countries of Finland, Sweden, Norway, Iceland, and Denmark are presented, and we are supported by Nordic Innovation. And besides Tokyo, we also exist in Silicon Valley, New York, Singapore, and Hong Kong. And we all share the same mission, which is to scale the best of the Nordics. So we work together with Nordic quality startups, scale-ups, and growth companies within these global hotspots where we operate. And we see ourselves as a community platform. So through us, you can tap into the relevant stakeholders at these locations where we are in. And we also collaborate with our houses across the world. So we are a truly global network, but with strong Nordic roots. And this is just the board here in Tokyo. So basically, all the 5 trade promotion offices from the Nordic embassies are involved. And from Denmark, we have the Embassy of Denmark represented. Just to complement a little bit on what Maria already quite well explained about the Japanese startup ecosystem and some of the areas of interest, we can see from the graph here that the Japanese investments in startups have been rising yearly since 2012, which is of course a very positive trend. Surely the actual amounts are still small compared to, for example, to the States, but we can see a very positive trend here, and especially accelerated this year, discussions within open innovation, digital transformation, also accelerated by the new government. So this is a topic that is widely spoken in Japan at the moment. And also wanted to highlight, of course, Olympics 2021 with a small question mark here still, but that is surely an interesting opportunity, as well as the World Expo 2025. So there's a couple of large international events happening in Japan. And Maria already very nicely covered some of the interests from Japanese large organizations in terms of open innovation projects, for example. But indeed, deep technologies such as VR, AR, mobility, robotics, AI, seem to be on the agenda for many. And we're also really happy to see that Japanese investments from Japan to Nordic startups have been on the rise lately, and a little bit more about that on this slide. And all of the information you can see here is actually from Innovation Lab Asia. It's a public source for investments between Japan and the Nordics. So if you're interested in more details, feel free to check them out. But we're really happy to see the positive trend. And even during the COVID times, I think we've identified around 15 cases this year. So there surely seems to be a lot of investment traction between the regions as well, which of course provides different kinds of opportunities to startups. And I just picked here Denmark. We had one investment to Warm, which is a music tech company. And here are just a couple of very recent Nordic startup entries to Japan, representing different industries from life sciences to ICT, mobility, health, food tech. Many of these entered through different types of partnerships, or they had investments behind them, and also not just in Tokyo, but also other fields as well. So there can be many different ways to enter. And if you're interested, feel free to check these companies out. But what is the Nordic Innovation House, and how can we complement the existing services that are here already? So first of all, we work with registered Nordic companies only within technology fields that have a keen interest to explore Japan as their market. And if we make introductions to, for example, our stakeholders, we want to make sure that the companies are able to follow up with those introductions. And a little bit about our membership. So we work on a yearly membership base. And basically, as a community platform, these are the 4 main areas that we offer support to the Nordic companies who are interested in exploring Japan. Access to different types of networks. These can be government agencies. We're also very happy to be partnering with Access2Tokyo as well as other service providers or mentors. From the Nordic support side, the Nordic Innovation House is a vessel for all the 5 countries to come together, which means that we can create these pan-Nordic showcasing opportunities. And these are quite interesting to our Japanese stakeholders, so they can see us as a kind of a window to the Nordic startup ecosystem. So which means that we get very interesting inquiries from these companies, and then we do our best to connect them to our startups. In the community access this year, everything has been virtual. I should also say that we started our operations in May this year, so it's been 6 months for us here in Japan, and everything has more or less been virtual. But we do, for example, a monthly Nordic Japan Innovation Gathering here in Tokyo. So we are putting some effort into building that Nordic business network here in Tokyo, which of course everyone is welcome to attend to, and through those experiences and experience sharing, we try to foster that kind of a business community so that not everyone has to go through the same struggles and same problems as their visitors did. And on the visibility side, of course, we have our own social channels. And then if we do different types of showcasing opportunities, then we do give our members priority in those. And this would make around 800 Danish kroners per month. I just wanted to highlight one of our events which happened a few weeks back. We had 4 Nordic companies who were pitching towards Japanese stakeholders. So we were collaborating with Shonan Health Innovation Park, which is one of the largest health innovation ecosystems here in Japan, as well as Takeda. So this was an example of a showcasing opportunity that we can produce through the Nordic Innovation House if there is interest. And we're also very happy to partner with other Nordic organizations or stakeholders here in Japan. As mentioned, we see ourselves as a community platform. So we are industry agnostic, and we touch upon many different touch points, but we don't go too deep. So what's the value that we can offer is really to connect you to the right ecosystems. And in order to do that, we're very happy to partner with quality organizations, and then we can run collaborative activities and share information and whatnot. And these are just some of our partners so far. But that would be all actually from my end. Please give us a follow if you're interested in any of the upcoming opportunities from Japan. We post a lot about active challenges or incubation and acceleration programs and deadlines. Also, if you're interested in hearing more about us, just feel free to ping me on any of the channels or reach out to email or whatnot. But thank you for letting me be part of this, and I'm very much looking forward to the discussion with Kenji and Maria as well.
Brilliant. Thank you ever so much, Niklas. That's really interesting. Just a couple of questions from my side. So with regards to Innovation House, I mean, obviously I know that you're part of a family of Nordic Innovation Houses around the world. So does your membership scheme, does that cover all of them, or is that just purely for the Japanese market?
That's a really good question. So we do ask our members to make a specific agreements with each of the houses, but if they are members of more than one house, they do get a global discount that we give. And we do quite frequent information sharing with all the 5 houses. So if there is, for example, member in our house who is looking into, say, Singapore, then we can make that connection quite quickly. Yeah, makes sense. And just to kind of dial in a little bit on the investor side of things, I mean, you showed some, some of the investors that have made investments, but how's the kind of the sort of market of the warmer ones that are circling, but never sort of pulled the trigger yet? Are there a lot more that are kind of
getting interested, but maybe not quite, going through with it yet?
Yeah, that's a really good question. What I can reply to you in that is that we have received these inquiries to do, for example, technology scouting in the Nordics, more and more so lately from Japanese larger organizations who have not necessarily looked into Nordics so much before. So typically, I mean, they would look into states or some of the other European countries or closer the Asian countries. But now when they have a kind of a window to all the countries through one door, we have received a couple of new inquiries. So we do hope that that would lead into some more invest-in activities.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, I mean, you're kind of fairly fresh to the market, right? I mean, 6 months in, I guess
Exactly.
you're, building your network there, and, it's not easy when there's not so many face-to-face events to, to attend and, actually meet new people. But, with regards to the ones that have invested, music tech, I mean, I'm connected to music startups here in Sweden. Would you say that, that's, a definite, worth forwarding that onto you? I mean, would you say that perhaps like a Series A level startup, but it's not worth their while to approach you yet? Are you a little bit like Maria? Are you kind of looking at more sort of Series B scale up companies, or do you think it's just good to kind of make that connection as quickly as possible, no matter what?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I would recommend startups and companies to get in touch as early as possible, because we do also work on the stage when companies are figuring out, should they come to Japan or not? So if they're looking for opportunities to, for example, enter into some acceleration programs, just to do a bit of proof of concept to see how the market reacts to your product, then it can be very valuable feedback to get earlier than later, I think. So we are, in that sense, stage agnostic, as long as the companies are willing. I think it's more a matter of time, and they're willing to commit to us, and we can see that they are seriously considering Japan. Then at that point, we'll be happy to have them.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay, there's no questions outstanding at the moment, so let's jump back to Maria and welcome Kenji, and over to you guys to hear about Chainalysis and their rapid growth.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Barry. And thank you, Kenji, for joining us today and for accepting our invitation to come and speak at this webinar. I think everyone is really interested to know more about what Chainalysis does.
Sure.
If you could give us an overview of your product and your business, and how you guys have made it to such a successful growth in the past, it would be great.
Sure. Firstly, thank you very much for our inviting to this session, and I'm happy to share what we are experiencing in this Tokyo. So before answering to your questions, let me introduce myself and what Chainalysis is doing. So my name is Kenji Sugawara. I'm based in Tokyo and the country manager for Japan market. And what Chainalysis is doing is let me share my screen then. Do you see my screen?
Yep. Yeah, we can see it.
So the Chainalysis is providing the blockchain analysis services. Their target is mainly for the cryptocurrency. And we are delivering the cryptocurrency AML and the CFT solutions. And so in the past year, you probably had lot about the cryptocurrency and their growth potential. Cryptocurrency represent a new way to transfer value. So how big is cryptocurrency now? Now there are two elements to this. The volume that is traded on exchanges and the volume that is moved between the entities on the blockchain itself. And changing how we do business has the potential to completely transform the way value is traded and facilitate the cheaper global transactions, provide the banking services to their unbanked, and expand to capture the new digital revenue. But however, there like the Bitcoin that is easily related to associated with the illicit activity, and those illicit activity leads to a lack of trust among participants in their ecosystem, law enforcement, regulators, cryptocurrency businesses, and the financial institutions. So the lack of trust prevents the ecosystem from growing. So how do legitimate actors get more information about illicit activity in order to build trust? Then Chainalysis. We power law enforcement investigation under the compliance layer for the future of value transfer. Chainalysis fills the information gap that builds trust among the different participants in the ecosystem. We do this by providing the visibility and the insights in a common language that helps stakeholders understand what is happening on the blockchains. So building trust that helps the ecosystem grow. So currently we provide in the three solutions. First one is the Chainalysis KYT, that is stands for the Know Your Transaction. And the center one is the Chainalysis Reactor. And third one is the Chainalysis Cryptos. Chainalysis KYT is providing the automated transaction monitoring system for especially for their crypto exchangers. And the center one, Chainalysis Reactor, that is the investigation software for analysis and the investigators. Since the Chainalysis, the most powerful user is law enforcement, I mean the government. So the most investigators from the law enforcement use this reactor for their crypto investigations. The third one is the Chainalysis Cryptos. That is their profile and the benchmark cryptocurrency businesses. And we provide our cryptocurrency compliance and investigation software to the world's leading institutions. We began as the official investigators in the Mt. Gox Hack back in 2014. And now we took with over 200 of the top regulators, law enforcement agencies, cryptocurrency businesses, and financial institutions across more than 40 countries, helping them develop compliance program or investigating the toughest cases. We think about the work we do as ultimately building the trust in blockchains. And lastly, there are our values. The first of our company value is strong conviction, loosely held, which means they're having a clear point of view while at the same time being open to new information as it comes and being willing to change your position as needed. The second value is regal, not regal motives. This for us means being able to relentlessly question everything, make good use of evidence, be rigorous in what you do, but without spending so much time doing analysis that it paralyzes you and stop you from there having an impact. The third value for us to give first. This is about adding value and doing things that may not directly benefit you first, but collectively grows the pie for all. So that's the reason why I'm joining today's session to share our experience. And the fourth value is to be a radical gradualist. It's about dreaming big, seeing the large possibilities and having a plan of the discrete task that will get you there and doing them by one. So this is the Chainalysis and what we are doing. And
thank you. Thank you, Kenji, for presenting us with who are you and what does Chainalysis do. I think that gives everyone quite a good overview of your company. So I guess I would like to say that Chainalysis was part of the Access2Tokyo program back in 2018, and since then they have grown massively and just gained the unicorn status last week as they raised 100 million in its Series C round for a 1 billion evaluation, which is massive. And so I would like to ask you, what was your experience expanding to Japan, and what were the main positive aspects of that experience, and perhaps what were the less positive and the challenges that you faced when expanding your business to Japan?
Sure. We joined our Invest Tokyo program back in 2019, actually.
Oh, apologies. Sorry.
No problem. And I joined this company on last October, and we immediately contacted the Tokyo Metropolitan Government for this program. And Accenture Japan helped us to penetrate the Japan market at the time. And our core customers is three verticals. First one is the law enforcement, and the second one is the crypto exchanges, and the third one is the financial institutions. Since we would like to expand the business in the financial institutions, but there are a few contacts in Japan's banks or those kind of players. So then we ask Accenture Japan for introducing those financial institutions to us. And Accenture Japan set up a meeting for us and some brief introduction to us to them. So there are those kind of things that Accenture Japan helped us to expand the market. So that's a very positive side. Another positive side is that Tokyo Metropolitan Government gave us a lot of opportunity to do the seminar to collect a leads. So those kind of opportunity they gave. So that's great to create awareness in this market.
Brilliant. And in terms of the challenges, I know that you've mentioned before in our previous conversations that the regulatory landscape in Japan is quite unique, and that was one of your main challenges and have been so far. So can you tell us a bit more about that? Correct.
Like Francisca told, Japan's regulatory background is quite different from the other regions. So one of the differentiators is that there are other regions allow to their financial institution to do their custody services for the crypto. But in Japan, that is approved by law. So there are financial institutions, the traditional financial institutions cannot go to their crypto business. But since their Bitcoin price raise, people would like to buy the Bitcoin or those crypto assets. They would like to send their fiat, their Japanese yen or USD to the crypto exchanges and to buy the coin. Then their financial institutions indirectly have a connection with the crypto. Then they need to do their manage and assess the risk to do that. So on that part, we would like to penetrate. So that's regulatory different from the other regions, but there's a business transfers. So those kind of area we would like to expand.
Great. I think this is sort of the end of my questions. I was wondering if anyone within the audience would also have questions about, Kenji's experience working in Japan and bringing a foreign company into the Japanese market.
I think there doesn't appear to be any direct questions from the audience, but personally, I'm interested to know about the kind of speed to unicorn status. Why do you think you've been so successful? Is there a lack of competitors, or what are you guys doing differently that's really accelerated this growth?
Oh, that's a great question. And actually, there are our solutions, the reactor, that is a default standard for the law enforcement from their crypto attribution perspective. So since the AML, CFT, anti-money laundering is based on the law enforcement, deeply related to the law enforcement work. So we are very dominant on this law enforcement market. So they're not only for the US, but also globally. So we kind of have this market. That's why for law enforcement, there's a demand for our solutions. Japan is not an exception. That's why we are growing, because the crypto asset market is growing. The law enforcement work has ways. That's why the market is growing, and our solution and the market is growing as well.
Okay, interesting. And just Niklas, maybe you can just unmute quickly there as well, just to talk to all three of you, Maria as well. How's things in Japan, with COVID? Like, what's the latest and the sort of business trends there? Has there been a sort of a massive effect or a medium kind of business effect. What's the latest status there? I don't know which one of you cares to answer that.
So, Niklas, you're gonna go first.
Yes, I can go. No problem. Yeah, that's a really good question. And just to briefly recap on the COVID situation, so you might know that Japan was praised that it was quite well maintained. However, just recently we have seen the cases going up again, which is of course saddening. But in terms of the business culture and the changes, yes, of course, changing to telework, that has been a big leap for many of the Japanese companies, and it has come with different types of pros and cons, and how does the traditional Japanese business culture move digitally, and how does that reflect in online meetings and on all of this. And I don't think everything has been figured out just yet, so I think we're still in a transition phase. In terms of collaboration between Japan and the Nordics, what I can say based on my experience is that it has actually been easier to get into different kinds of appointments and get through the doors and talk to some of the stakeholders, perhaps because setting up an online meeting is not that labor intensive. However, when it comes to, let's say, decision making, there we still see a bottleneck, and there we would still like to see face-to-face. So that part, I foresee still some difficulties if it's going to be just online for now.
Interesting. And what about on the ground for you, Kenji? I mean, how are you operating and having meetings? I mean, obviously the Japanese culture is very social, isn't it? And a lot of traditions in meetings and things like that. Are you, similar to Niklas, still managing to have meetings, or is it slowed down a lot?
Right, like the Niklas mentioned there, for law enforcement, they still like to do their face-to-face meeting. So on that, the meeting has delayed when their pandemic has occurred. So their project has delayed as well. That kind of situation has happened. On their, not a public sector one, I mean their enterprise, they are immediately adapt their online meeting like Zoom. So there those kind of things that are less affect from the COVID. So the public sector and their enterprise has a huge difference to do their meeting. So the law enforcement side is a little bit challenged because we need to find a very appropriate time slot to avoid the COVID affection. So yeah, those kind of situation has happened in Japan currently.
Okay. And Maria, you also did a similar talk to this at one of our partner events at Tech Barbecue, right? And have you had a lot of sort of follow-on inquiries? Like, how's it been for you? I know obviously you're fairly new at the company as well, but are you getting many inquiries from Nordic companies and your colleagues in general who cover sort of other European regions?
Sure. Just on the COVID side of things, I'm not based in Tokyo. I'm based in London, so I wouldn't be able to tell about the actual living situation. But what I can say from the government's perspective is that the government has been communicating to Accenture that they're very interested in bringing technology solutions from abroad that could potentially tackle some of the challenges that COVID has brought to the Japanese society. So that's definitely something to note, because I believe those companies would have a sort of strategic advantage to other companies when applying for some of the for the support of the government, because that's definitely a priority for them. In terms of the appetite for Nordic companies to work in Japan, yes, actually we've seen. I have been having conversations with quite a few, especially in the fintech space before, as well as social impactful solutions. So we, a few months ago, ran a competition that was focused on SDGs, so Sustainable Development Goals. And to be honest, most of the companies that applied for that competition were based in the Nordics, because obviously your ecosystem has a lot to offer in that space. And there is actually an appetite from Nordic companies to grow into Japan. So I believe, so I cover most of Europe, and I've seen the most amount of appetite to work in Japan coming from the Nordics and the UK rather than any other countries. I wouldn't be able to tell more specifically what my other colleagues are with the sort of appetite they're getting from the other sides of the world, but certainly to note that our program this year has slowed down a bit more because obviously I believe a lot of companies have put international expansion to a lower priority than perhaps in previous years, just given the current situation. But in any case, hopefully the Access2Tokyo program will be running over the next few years as well. So that will give, you know, the opportunity for companies that even if that's not the first priority this year in FY21, perhaps in FY22 or going forward, the opportunity will still be there.
Fantastic. Okay. Any questions from the audience? Write them quickly. If not, I think we can wrap up. Any further points any of the guest speakers would like to add?
Yeah, I would certainly like to thank you for organizing this event and for creating this opportunity.
Thank you for attending.
For us, yeah, this opportunity for us to discuss this topic and to, you know, kind of spread the word about the opportunities that exist in Japan. So thank you so much, Barry, for this.
My pleasure. Thank you ever so much for your time and for, you know, sharing some great information. It's been really interesting to learn more about Japan and the opportunities there. Thank you, Kenji. Very nice to have you as a guest with us. And I guess what time is it in Tokyo now, Niklas and Kenji? I guess it's
almost 9.
Almost 9 o'clock. So your day is done. Thank you, everybody who attended. It's been good to have you. I hope you learned some things, and we'll put a recording of this up on YouTube. So if there's anything you want to watch again, you will find it there in the next couple of days, and also, you know, the contact details for the speakers. So thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me as well.
You're welcome.
Have a nice day.
Have a great day.
Cheers. Bye.